My name is Tanner Gears, and when I was 21 years old, I woke up in the hospital totally blind. That changed my life, but not nearly as much as when I became a blind job seeker, unable to get a job until I found digital accessibility. And that changed everything. And I wanted to create more opportunities for people like me, people who are blind. So we created the CAT program. It's a 14-week instructor-led job training program that teaches you how to be a digital accessibility tester. You get trained, you get certified, you get a job. So to learn more and find out if you qualify for the CAT program, go to accessibilityofficer.com.
It's for one more rep. It's for 30 more seconds. It's for crushing your personal record. To see you go from doubting to dominating. To see you move from fear to fight. For you to realize you are strong, and the only thing holding you back is you. Why do we do what we do at Revision Training? So you can see the champion within. Download Revision Fitness, the audio fitness app, from the App Store or Google Play. Or visit revisionfitnessapp.com to sign up today and start your 14-day free trial for new users.
I'm gonna keep on going. You keep going too. Come on, keep going.
Revision Fitness. Let's change the way we look at it.
Howdy, and welcome to episode 149 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. My name is Greg Lindberg. On this episode, we are actually featuring some recordings from previous episodes of the podcast. And specifically, we're looking at how several of our guests we've had on the podcast got into adaptive sports for the blind and visually impaired, as well as what these sports and these opportunities have meant to them in their lives. So let's go ahead and get rolling now with episode 149 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. Okay, so first up here on the podcast, we're going to hear from Eliana Mason, who is a member of the U.S. women's goalball team. Just in general, how did you get involved in adaptive sports? How were you kind of first introduced to the world of blind sports?
Yeah, and well, I love that you asked this question because, like I said earlier, I was born with my vision impairment, and I didn't really learn about adaptive sports till I was 15. And so to me, I'm like, that's a huge gap. So I try really hard to work with younger kids and the young generation to do camps and clinics and spread awareness, because I strongly feel like every child with a disability should have access to adaptive sports the same way our able-bodied children do with basketball or gymnastics or football. Like, it should be the same. You know, we should have our young kids doing wheelchair basketball or goalball or sitting volleyball or any of those adaptive sports at the same ages. So with that said, I was very fortunate that two Paralympians at the time who were on the USA women's goalball team moved to Portland, and we ended up crossing paths, and they were holding practice every week at Portland State. And so they invited me to come and practice with them and just kind of get my feet wet and try the sport out and see if it was something I enjoyed doing.
Right. Very cool. So just kind of by coincidence, it sounds like happened.
Yes, I was very fortunate.
Absolutely. Yeah. And out of curiosity, who were those two Paralympians?
Yeah. Asia Miller and Jen Armbruster. Jen Armbruster had moved there for a job she took at Portland State as the inclusive rec coordinator. So she was holding different inclusive sports at PSU. And so I was very fortunate to cross paths with them and start going to the practices and get to learn more about the game and getting trained by two of the best in the world at the time.
All right. So next up, we have Chuck Gotus, and Chuck is going to explain how he discovered blind tennis.
Well, I actually learned about it from my wife, who had heard about a group here in Pittsburgh called BOLD, Blind Outdoor Leisure Development, and was chatting with somebody actually at my work when I was going for a job interview. She was chatting with somebody while waiting for me about that. And when we got home, she had went on to their Facebook page and saw the blind tennis clinic that they were doing at the Highland Park Tennis Club and told me about it. And I was like, oh, that sounds really neat. You know, okay, cool. She's like, well, good, because I signed you up for it. So I was like, all right, great. Well, and then I found myself getting a little bit nervous. Like, you know, well, how's that even possible? And I'm thinking about playing tennis because it had been years. I thought, oh, there's no way. Come on. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't know what to expect, but turns out to have been one of the greatest things that's ever happened. It's really been a game changer.
Wow, that's awesome. Was that like 2022, or what kind of time frame did your wife first tell you?
Last summer. Yeah, it was, I believe it was in May when it started. And it went for about 12 weeks every Saturday out of the Highland Park Tennis Club, run by Dana Costa, who you interviewed recently.
Sure.
Just terrific. Everybody there has just been so great. The volunteers, and even just people who come sometimes just to help pick up balls for us. And I mean, it's just been a great experience all the way around. But the first time he put that tennis racket in my hand, I was just like, oh, wow, that just feels great. And she started feeding me balls, and I was just like, whoa, this is what I've been missing. I can do this. Come on, and it's gone on from there. It's been such a great experience.
Wow. And I'm curious how many years in between, picking up that racket for the last time when you had more vision up until last year. How many years would you say was in that gap?
I'd say probably the last time I played, I was probably in my early 20s. Yeah, because I had a buddy of mine, Sean, that we used to just play very regularly all day. We'd just be down at the courts. But yeah, that was probably early 20s. So that's, almost 30 years.
Moving on now, we have Melchion Ellis. And Melchion is a member of the New York Bombers beat baseball team.
It was after my second semester of college, when my vision was on the decline, before I went totally blind. My commission counselor put in services for me to learn voiceover. So I actually learned voiceover from an instructor who played beat baseball at the time. And he told me about it, and he's like, hey, we're looking for people. You should join us. This is fun. You can look us up on YouTube. And I looked up on YouTube, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do it. I'm good.
Yo.
And then here I am later on, totally blind now, working out, and my friend asking me rather, why are you working out so much? I'm like, you know what? Let me find this. Let me contact this baseball team. So I actually contacted my commission counselor, who was she was actually retired. God bless her soul. She was so cool, and she actually pulled up. She remembered who I was training with, and she gave me his contact, and I contacted him, and then I found them on Facebook, and then I joined the Long Island Bombers. And this was, I believe this was like as we were coming out of COVID in 2020.
Right. Wow. And then, so just talk to me about getting out on the field, getting up to bat, being on defense. Just what was kind of that initial experience playing b-ball like for you?
It was, I never played I played baseball once on like a field day in elementary school, where we have soccer, baseball, and, we had a 3-legged race and, relays. And, that was like the most baseball I played. It was only one day. It was very different. I never held an actual bat before. I never swung an actual bat before.
Wow.
And I never ran to a base before. So it was all new to me. The defense was new. I had a really, really tough time going up to that. I remember actually my first tournament in Jersey, where it was like halfway through the game, and the coach actually put me in, and I'm like, why is he putting me in? In practice, I haven't been that great, and I was like really self-doubting myself. And one of the players' dad actually came up to me and was like, I heard that you didn't want to go bat anymore. And I kind of shied away from it. I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm good enough. And later on that day, the coach came up to me and he said one thing to me, and it stuck. He said, listen, man, I know you feel like you're not that good right now, but this sport takes time.
Okay, so next up we have Ed Plumacher, who has played both beep baseball as well as blind baseball.
Yeah, I remember I first heard about beep baseball, and I shied away from it because I was told you had to wear a blindfold, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm losing my vision. I'm not putting a blindfold on to play the game.
Right.
So it was that was like 2011. I had heard about it, and then I think maybe it was a year and a half, the end of 2012. I think just before their season was ending, I went to one of their practices, and I put the blindfold on and I got up to hit. And having played ball a lot growing up, I had a really good swing, and I remember catching that ball, and it flew over the left fielder's head. And all of a sudden, people were walking up. You want to ride? You want to ride to practice next week? So, yeah. So that was the start of it. But I can tell you, the first time making contact, running down that line, and hitting that base and being safe, and I was at that point. I was glad I had a blindfold on because it was covering up the tears that were flowing out of my eyes.
Wow, powerful. Yeah, I can totally relate. Just like you said, getting out there for the first time, and not only at the dish, but also in the field, and just kind of the independence that you really do feel when you get out there, and you're in control of that bat, and you're in control of trying to get that ball, and it's such a great feeling.
That was the first competitive adaptive team sport situation I'd been back into in many, many years. And it's one thing to ski, and it's one thing to do the martial arts and stuff like that, but when you're on a team, it's a whole different entity. I mean, all that aspect comes back of teammates, and you're out there because you're not just worrying about letting yourself down. You don't want to let your teammates down. You want to win. You want to perform well and things like that. It has a major, major impact on you.
Moving on now, we feature Roger Oberholzer, who is a very accomplished marathon runner. So how did you kind of get introduced to sports for the blind and adaptive sports in general?
My dad was actually the president of a soccer team in Switzerland when I was growing up. So, and soccer is very popular in Switzerland. And so I was basically always, since I can remember, a soccer fan. And then I started playing soccer really young and skiing and just with my friends and so forth, the normal kid sports, but then also joined, the youth team and so forth. And then when I got older, I just always loved sports. It was always for me something that I liked participating in with even peers that were fully sighted. And I was never like on a team for visually impaired athletes, so to speak, even though I was visually impaired. Even at the time, right? My vision wasn't 20/20. And so how I first got introduced to visual impairment sports was when I lived for a time in San Diego in 2016, and I got introduced to the Blind Stokers Club in San Diego, and I started riding quite frequently with my captains, which is it's a fantastic club for anybody that wants to tandem cycle, and they have a huge pool of captains and stokers, and every year they have an event called Cycling for Sight. That is a big event. It's a 2-day event. And I got introduced to that. I found out, I don't even recall how I exactly found out about it, but I got in touch with David White, who's the director, one of the directors of the club. And the event was just happening. So I took part in that event and have gone numerous times since then to the Cycling for Sight event and met some great people through that, captains and stokers and so forth. And now they even have like a hiking, like a blind stokers adventure segment where they go hiking and do events in the desert and so forth. So it's a great program. And then when I moved to Folsom, I was like, okay, I don't have any tandem captains here. How do I find tandem captains? And that's how I met Richard Hunter, who's the founder of United in Stride. And I called Richard Hunter and was like, hey, Richard, I heard you have tandem captains. And he said to me, actually, Roger, I don't know that many tandem captains, but I can hook you up with running guides. And so that's how me and my second wife started running together in 2018, and we did the California International Marathon Relay, and that's how I started running because of Richard's influence in hooking me up with guides to run with, and it has been my passion and, so to speak, happy place ever since to run with the guides I have.
Sure. That's awesome. And I'm curious, had you done any kind of running prior to that, or?
I did in school. I ran but only on the local level. I wasn't I never thought before that I would run marathons. That was never my thing. I would have never dreamt of running marathons. And when I started running in 2018, it was an event called the Big Run, and it was a 5K run, and I thought that I'm gonna die. I thought this is like the it's the longest run ever, and now a training run is longer than that, but it takes so much. It takes so much time and training, and I think that's the neat thing about running and marathon running, especially all the athletes. You don't have people being arrogant about it because everybody realizes how much training it takes, how much preparation it takes, how much effort it takes, and people really respect each other because of all the efforts that go into it. So it has been a really, really great thing that I met some fabulous people through guiding, and also athletes that participated beside me on the California International Marathon, or even the shorter runs, like the half marathons, or even in the World Majors marathons. You meet these other athletes with disabilities, and it's always an awesome experience to meet all these other athletes that are fulfilling their goals by finishing a world major marathon.
And last but certainly not least, we have Calahan Young, a member of the U.S. men's goalball team.
I was slammed into the world of blind and disabled sports when I was 13, and that was a whole game changer because up to that point, my family had never been introduced or shown what goalball or, swimming for the blind, you know what I mean? Everything we had done was just mainstream sports, and there was no accommodations whatsoever. It didn't help that I hid my blindness. So I, playing basketball, I'd get hit in the face with the ball and everyone be like, you got to pay attention more. I'm like, yeah, totally. Should have caught my eye out. In reality, just zero accommodation for the fact that I was running around legally blind, trying to catch a basketball.
Right. And so was it Envision Blind Sports there in the Pittsburgh area that kind of introduced you to some of these adaptive sports?
Yes, it was. I attended a program when I was in middle school that was called HOMES, and I'm not quite sure what the acronym stands for anymore, but it basically taught living skills and activities of daily living for people with disabilities. So running the bus or ATMs or whatever. And so the one day Envision Blind Sports came down and did a demonstration of goalball. And here again, it was my first time ever seeing a sport designed for the blind. And it was insane. I was completely blown away that they actually made sports where, it was intentional that it was an equal playing field and that everyone had an equal chance to be successful or not. Right. And it was up to that point, every sport I played, I either thrived or completely sank. And so once they did that demonstration, I started attending their yearly summer camp up in Slippery Rock. It was located at Slippery Rock University. Now it's at Penn State Barron, which is a little bit more north of Pittsburgh than Slippery Rock. But I attended their summer camps every year from 2007 until I graduated high school in 2013, and played every sport under the sun with them. And then they also had a youth goalball team that we would travel to youth nationals every year. But our humble brag is that we won youth nationals in both 2011 and 2012 back to back, and
nice.
Went from 4th place, 12th place to first, and that was our kind of a crowning accomplishment, and just couldn't have been where I am now if it wasn't for Envision Blind Sports giving me all the opportunities. And the director of the program, Wendy Fagan, she's been like my second mom. She's the greatest. She's been and one of my biggest advocates for me, besides my mom, that just keeping my goalball abilities alive and well.
To hear more episodes of the Eyes Free Sports podcast and to subscribe, search for Eyes Free Sports on your favorite podcast platform or visit eyesfreesports.com. Be sure to follow the Eyes Free Sports podcast at facebook.com/eyesfreesports and on Twitter at Eyes Free Sports.